Hello, Talkin' Fight fans around the world. Thank you for joining us again for another episode of the Olympics, a special episode on Talkin' Fight where we discuss the road or the route to the Olympics that our boxing champions around the world are taking. And what's the update today, Christian? It being a Monday, I'm sure there's something exciting happening in the world.
Well, there's always something exciting happening in the world. As far as the actual Olympics themselves go, fortunately, we're in a no news is good news situation today. So, no major rule changes, venue changes, no horrifying announcements relating to COVID-19 that we've heard. So, all good news because there's no news on that front. So, when we have no news, what we do is we look to all things amateur boxing and we try to bring you stories and headlines from around the world. So we can get a better idea who it is we're going to be seeing at the Olympics. So with an eye to that, over the course of the weekend, the Cologne World Cup wrapped up. So today we're going to be having a look at a few of those fights and to see how they played out. So over the weekend, 15 nations attended the Cologne World Cup boxing event. And they included, let's see, who did we have this year? We saw the Belgians, we saw Bosnia and Herzegovina, Brazil, Croatia, Denmark, France, obviously host country Germany. The Hungarians were, the IOC refugee team was in attendance. The Kazakhstanis were there, Mali, Moldova, the Netherlands, Norway, and Romania. All in all, we saw 92 boxers attending this event, 29 of which were female fighters. So, bout of the day on this one was for the finals, that is, was widely considered to be Germany's two-time AIBA Women's World Champion, bronze medalist Nadine Apst. Now, the German welterweight or 69 kilogram category there, ranked #1 in the world, met with the future of her own country and teammate Lonnie Mueller in the final of the Cologne Boxing World Cup. Now, Apst was more active in this fight and tried a bit of a different strategy than what we had been seeing in some of her earlier bouts. But Mueller was just completely untouchable for her and was working really effectively from a distance and was able to keep Apst on the outside. All throughout the first round, the 21-year-old Mueller was able to keep that focus going, and she carried it right through the rest of the bout, taking gold medal from Apst, who was, again, world #1 and heavily favored to take that one. But that was probably one of the biggest and most entertaining fights on the day. Biggest surprise of the day, though, probably goes to Germany's Ornella Vonner, who won gold back in New Delhi in 2018's AIBA Women's World Boxing Championships. Some of our viewers will remember. Now, the 27-year-old German tried to control the fight against Brazil's Yucelian Romo, but she had a hard time gauging her distance right from the start. The 21-year-old Brazilian was quicker, showed better footwork, and managed to land more shots, again, keeping her opponent on the outside. So using her distance and range to greater effect, the Brazilian was able to land more shots. And Roma was more active. She came out early on this one, and it made it obvious that she wanted this bout, and she did. She took home the women's featherweight, 57-kilogram category, what was easily the biggest surprise of the day. Nobody really saw that one coming. But let's have a quick look around some of the other bouts that took place, gold medal fights of the day there. Germany's Kevin Bocek he was a strong puncher and was able to control all of his recent bouts in the men's middleweight, 75-kilogram category. But he was not able to repeat his recent performances following a tough semifinal. I mean, he was landing good punches against Netherlands' new teenage sensation, Gradius Kraus. But the young Dutch fighter knocked Bocek down in the final seconds of the match, but it really wasn't enough at the end of the day. The Dutch fighter is young, he's fast, he was doing well, but it just experienced, he just didn't have it at the end of the day, and the German just used, I guess the term would be ring generalmanship at the end of the day. We would see that of being scored points in a pro fight to really take this one home. Now, moving along, Brazil's AIBA Women's World Champion Beatrice Ferreira, who some of our viewers will remember we last saw taking home a gold at the Strandia World Cup, was a top favorite for gold medal in the women's lightweight or 60-kilogram category. Now, the Brazilian pressurized Croatia's Maria Melenica, with tough hooks and uppercuts from the first of their exchanges of the final. The Croatian tried to avoid these powerful shots, and she also was able to land some good counter punches, especially in the second round. but Ferreira just never stopped attacking and was able to claim her second gold in a row. So she is going to be a big name to keep an eye out for once we get to Tokyo, as she's going to be coming off back-to-back gold medal wins. The Netherlands Rio 2016 Olympic Games silver medalist Nita Fontin is one of the biggest names in the Cup, who eliminated Christina Hammer of Germany in the semifinal to the women's middleweight. That's 75 kilograms, for those of you keeping score, and continued her winning path in the title bout. The European Games winner Dutch boxer used, again, long distance as a strategy against France's Davina Michael and succeeded in Cologne once again. Been seeing a lot of these matches today have been going to whoever was able to keep their opponent on the outside at this particular tournament. Obviously, that's not everything we watch, but just this one, it just kind of seemed to be an ongoing thing throughout the gold medal bouts for this particular tournament. France's Bilal Benama and Kazakhstan's Sakin Bosyanov, who both claimed bronze medals at the Ekaterinburg 2019 AIBA World Championships. Two excellent flyweight boxers here, 52 kilogram category. In the finals here. Now, these guys had an outstanding bout. Benama trusted on his speed and his tactic based on counter-punching heavily against the Kazakh boxer. Both have already qualified for the Tokyo Olympic Games, but it was still a world-class bout. So you got no real sense of this. And now we're both going to the games so we can kind of pull our punches a little bit. These guys were both definitely throwing for gold. At the end of the day, it was Benama's amazing technical skill and footwork that decided this one, and that's who took home the gold. France's next finalist, Samuel Kistahuri, who again also has already qualified for Tokyo, was attacking in the first round and doing his best to end this one early against his Kazakhstani opponent, Orazabek Asilkulov. I'll get these one of these days. They're just going to flow right off the tongue one of these days. Orazabek Asilkulov. Now, Kistahuri received punches from the quick Kazakh boxer, but turned up the heat and finished the second round with impressive shots. The French fighter was smarter in the third round than Asilkulov and won his next tournament title by turning up the heat in the third round and bringing home a lot of punches in that to take home a featherweight category gold medal. So moving into the welterweight 69 kilogram category, saw the gold medal bout with Germans in both corners. They had two hopefuls here, and that was Daniel Krauter, who's the defending Cologne World Boxing Cup championship, against Magomed Sachedov, my apologies there again, who competed at the Minsk 2019 European Games. Now, Sachedov landed a great jab in the first round of the battle, but Krauter returned with nice counterattacks. Now, the young Krauter combined jabs with body shots, but Sachedov just kept focus, kept coming at him relentlessly, and at the end of the day was the stronger of the two, largely on jabs, in my personal opinion. Big winners on the day, though, Graham, for this tournament were the Brazilians, who took home 4 gold medals, host country Germany, who also came away with 4. France took home 2 gold medals. The Kazakhs brought home gold medals in both the heavy and the super heavyweight. So keep an eye out for these guys once we get to the Olympics as well in the heavier categories. And finally, the Dutch with a single gold to wrap things up. So we had an exciting weekend of boxing where we saw a few names that we had seen at Strandia a couple of weeks back. Obviously, no one from boxing, because that would have been a little close without didn't have the same amount of recovery time. But some great boxing and some names that we're going to need to be looking out for in Tokyo in July. Pardon me. Oop, you all right there? Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine. I just didn't know if that swig of water was your...
It is a little dry in here. Well, that's everything I've got for Cologne right now. But worth mentioning, coming up, starting right now in Istanbul, is the Bosphorus Tournament. Is having their draws today. So that's going to start qualifying matches for the Bosphorus Tournament are starting tomorrow and tomorrow and the next day. Then obviously we're going to be moving to semifinals, and I believe the finals are taking place on the 20th. So we're going to be bringing you some news on the Bosphorus Tournament that's just opened in Turkey. And once again, the Indians are sending a really strong side to that one as well. So it'll be interesting to see. I think they've got 13 fighters going to that tournament as well. So be interesting to see what happens. But the initial draws are happening today, and the rest of it starts up tomorrow. Actual bouts. So as we move throughout the week, we'll be bringing you information on that tournament as well.
So to clarify, those boxers who have not already qualified and who are obtaining medals or respectable positions are increasing their chances in the rankings in order to qualify. Is that right? Is that how these
absolutely?
Amateur
well, I mean,
yeah. Okay.
Well, that's what's being done with the new qualification for Tokyo this year. Now, obviously, these rankings in the AIBA are obviously important to these amateur fighters for reasons completely separate from the Olympics themselves, because that's going to help them if they become seeded. It's going to change who they're fighting in future tournaments. It's going to affect things like their prospects when they're looking to turn pro and things of that nature. So these rankings do go a long way, whether or not they go to the Olympics, because there's also other World Cups happening. You've got the Commonwealth Games in 2023. You've got the South Asia Games coming next year. You've got Commonwealth Games in Birmingham next year. You got South Asia Games in 2023. You've got then Paris coming up in 2024. So every year there's big tournaments happening, and these AIBA rankings go a long way to how you're perceived in these tournaments. So yes, it's definitely helping out those who are already near the top of the heap, who just are this far from making it into the Olympics, because it's only the AIBA, not the AIBA, sorry, the IOC is only awarding these to the top fighter in each weight category who has not yet qualified regionally. Right. So in each one of these, so each one, there's only going to be one spot available, men's, one spot women's kind of thing for each of these things moving down. And obviously there's only 53 spots total that are being divided over 4 regions.
Right.
So it's going to help out a few people. Not many, but it's definitely going to get a couple of boxers closer, and it may tip 1 or 2 of them over the edge.
Yeah, that's what I think as well.
Olympics or no, though, world-class boxing is happening.
Yeah, I'm glad you dug that one up, because I had not heard of the Cologne World Cup.
That's been going on for like 30 years.
Not following amateur boxing, I guess.
All of today's information comes to us directly from Europe Boxing.
IOC.
So,
okay.
No, not IOC, though, European Boxing Commission. So that
Nice.
would the EUBC. So anyone's looking, you can find upcoming tournaments. You can find results from this tournament and all the scorecards and things like that on their website.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Christian. Appreciate the update, and look forward to speaking to you tomorrow. If there's any more comments, feel free.
No, we'll save that for tomorrow, where we're going to start taking a little bit closer look, I said, into the Bosphorus Tournament.
Awesome. That's great. Fantastic. Are these mini tournaments points added onto the ranking? That's what I was curious about.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I did. There was a comment here asking if these tournaments points are added onto the rankings. So they are, and this is, again, not normally as big a deal as it is currently, because what's happening here is with the Paris World Qualifier that's been canceled, these tournament rankings up until, I think, May, the end of May, are all going to count towards your world rankings. So at the end of that, the top fighters in each category who have not yet qualified through the regional category, through the regional qualifier, will be picked based on those rankings. So these tournaments that are happening, international tournaments, continental tournaments, are very much being added onto and very much being looked at by the IOC Boxing Task Force in order to allocate spots for Tokyo.
Right. It's not as subjective as they're picking and choosing whoever they feel. There are actual points being allocated if you achieve a podium position in these amateur tournaments.
Absolutely.
If you've not already qualified. Right. 10-4. Got it. So the next one's coming out of Istanbul. Is that what you're saying?
That's the one. Yep.
Wow.
Okay. You know what? Big T, you've brought this one up a couple of times. Big T's been leveling hard for Ben Whitaker here, who fights in the 81 kilogram category for Team Great Britain. And we have been looking at Ben, and we were going to talk about him a little later on, not today's show, but a little later on in the week. Unfortunately, and you're going to be upset to hear this, Big T, both the Irish and the Team Great Britain are not traveling to the Bosphorus Tournament, and that is because of COVID-19 restrictions. So we did look at it. So unfortunately, we will not be seeing Ben Whitaker fighting at this upcoming tournament. And we saw, some problems happening around the world where we've got people in overseas training camps who are unable to travel to these tournaments. I know that there's a boxer out of St. Lucia, a heavyweight out of St. Lucia, who's currently on training in the UK right now, who is hoping to fight at Bosphorus, who all of a sudden was told he cannot because of the travel restrictions coming from the UK into the EU at the moment. So,
right.
Unfortunately, we're not going to be seeing your boy Ben Whitaker at this particular tournament, but we'll keep an eye out to see what Great Britain boxing is doing next. We'll keep an eye out.
It sounds like Serbia might be his next port of call.
Well, we'll see. Again, we'll see what COVID travel restrictions say between now and then. But yeah, we'll keep an eye out for that.
Again, thanks very much, Christian. Appreciate it. Thanks very much for the update. Thanks very much for the viewership out there, for your good comments. Keep them coming. Love the feedback. Remember to like, share, subscribe. And if you're going to subscribe, to hit that notification bell, because then you'll get updated when we are going live next. Thanks very much, Christian. We'll see you tomorrow.